enough, and and here we are. Shane Bowley and Leland Udell. We're here to talk about our love of the mountains and of the out-of-doors, and the problems we are having with that, and our great love and passion for them. It's something that's a part of our being, and it's kind of hard to exist without them. And as you get older, we find that it's harder to have that space in the woods. My doctors say that when you get older, you don't have the same capability and same endurance that you used to have. And I wish that were not so.
Yeah.
But
I'm
afraid it is. I'm afraid it is.
Yes. As the form, your body starts to degrade.
Yeah.
Yeah. You have to deal with limitations.
Yeah, it's crummy.
Even in my own experiences as a mountaineer and athlete, that I've noticed some changes. That I'll be 52. I'll be 52 years old next week, and I don't have the same recovery times as I used to have after long adventures. It takes me longer now to come back from an event or from a long endurance type activity. I need more rest, and I obviously can still compete at a fairly high level, but certainly not with the 20-year-olds anymore, and that's something you have to accept, And in my sport, adventure racing, it's actually kind of good to be conservative because you actually last longer. You can stay on the course for a lot longer. The 20-year-olds go out like it's a 10K race and blow up in a couple days, and then 3 or 4 days later, the 50-year-olds are still out there, still going along pretty strongly because it's more of a steady pace. And as the old saying goes, the old cliche, slow and steady wins the race, certainly applies in endurance athletics, for sure. So.
Yeah, and I'm afraid I'm no longer in my 50s. I'm in my 60s and 70s. So it's pretty crummy.
And I've actually, getting back, I've actually been in races with Navy SEALs who I've also failed because of that philosophy of we are unconquerable, we can go out and do anything. They take off like it's a piece of cake after these. I'm talking about week-long events. They take off like it's going to be a piece of cake for them, and then 2 or 3 days later, they're out of the race. They're giving up because it's just too much. And the teams that started out slower, much steadier pace, stayed in the race and finished the race till the end. So you got to be careful about being too gung ho about going out. And youthful exuberance, as the old Aesop's fable of the rabbit and the hare, tortoise and the hare, goes. The tortoise oftentimes does win the race.
Yeah, he does.
So, yeah. So so you are currently in your own life situation now, confronting limitations in your physical being.
I'm afraid so.
Yeah. And I am as well, but not to the degree that to the degree that you are.
And I used to just automatically know where I was in the woods and keep my sense of direction, and I wouldn't get lost. But that's not true anymore.
Right.
So I have to be careful. And it just is. It's not fair.
Yeah, it doesn't seem quite fair, does it? To how do you reconcile that in your own mind about that? Are you like angry about it, or are you frustrated? Because you're confronted basically with a limiting situation where you can't do the things you used to do. How does that make you feel?
Well, I had no guarantee that I could do what I was doing forever.
Mm-hmm.
There was no guarantee.
Mm-hmm.
And
did you think about did you obviously back when you were in your 60s, did you consider being where you are now and what that would feel like and what that would look like?
Not really.
Not really. Yeah.
A little bit, but not a lot.
Yeah, I think about it from time to time myself. You know, at my young age, I think about what the obviously what the future holds for me physically and so on. And I've got friends that are now struggling with health issues, some serious ones, cancer and so on. And you know, where they've been given a certain amount of time left to live, and how they're dealing with it. And it's, you know, it's once again it's a limiting situation, and some people respond to it more positively than others. Like we talked about earlier, that you can either accept it and find peace around it, or you can reject it and fight against it, which creates a lot of suffering for you. I mean, right? Pretty much, if you resist where you're at, you're going to suffer.
That's true.
You know?
That's true. You have to.
How do you find peace when you're faced with a limiting situation?
You have to be grateful for what you've been able to do when you were younger.
Right.
And to look back on those days and activities.
Mm-hmm.
What is sad is if you somehow think that's the way you're going to always be. But
yes,
it's not true.
Right. I think that's one thing that all human beings have in common, is the fact that at some point in time, no matter how youthful you are now, at some point in your life you're going to face a limiting situation physically, mentally. As you age, you're going to definitely confront limits, and you're either going to rise above those limits or in a sense fall below them, and that's the resistance I was talking about, where you sort of you know, if you don't accept what is, you're going to suffer. Pretty much, right?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there's no...
you can't overcome it.
You can't overcome it, exactly. You can adapt, I suppose. I guess it all depends on what happens moment by moment in your life. You know, in this moment now, what can you do about the situation you're in? You can either accept it, or you can change it and make a movement based upon what, you know, the wisdom of that moment reveals to you. But you know, other than that, you just have to kind of... And some folks faced with a limiting situation actually get harder and get more egoistic and actually fight against the world, so to speak. And we see examples of that, you know, in our culture all the time. You know, Hollywood actors trying to hold on with makeup and facelifts and everything like that. It gets to a point where it's actually kind of pitiful, you know, and we kind of feel sorry for these folks because all of their approval comes from the outside rather than an inner sort of sense of approval of who they are and where they're at. You know, they're totally dependent upon the adoring crowd, so to speak. You know, so what do you think about that?
I think it's pretty immature.
Yeah, pretty immature, yeah.
Because it was a fact that you were going to be in that situation eventually.
Yeah.
Sooner or later. And if you didn't realize that, you're been pretty naive.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
That's just the way the world is.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. We talked about, you know, we both share an equal passion and love for the mountains. And I was thinking before I came on the show the other day, what could I talk about that would, you know, what could I say to somebody who doesn't have the ability to go in the mountains anymore? Are the mountains like part of you? You know, because I feel a sense of, even when I'm not in the mountains, which is my love, of course, that's my favorite place to be. My friends, you know, I tell my friends all the time, it's my natural habitat. I feel a lot more comfortable there than I do anywhere else. The spirit of the mountains, though, is inside of us. That there is a quietness there and a solitude and a serenity that you don't have to go there to get it. It's already in you. It just happens to be, it seems easier to be there to bring that out. Would you agree with that, or do you think that's truly?
I think so.
Yeah, like we talked the other day about, you know, you said you were frustrated, and I said, well, maybe you could go outside and just sit in a chair and just, you know, feel the wind and the sun and listen to the birds and the smells, and, you know, you can almost get a sense of that spirit that's in the mountains anywhere you really are. Even in this room right now as we're sitting talking, there's, you know, it's the background of everything that we do. Like, for example, it's the background of your physical form. It's the background of you as a person that cannot, you know, that we all return to when we pass on. What do you think about that? Is that, you know?
What do you mean, we return to it?
Like, there's a story of our lives, right? We all have got a story that we tell about, this is who I am, and this is what I do, and this is, you know, my name is Leland Udell, I'm a pastoral care specialist, I'm X number of years old, I make X number of, you know, that's all just sort of like the story about who you are. But there's something that enables that story to be. There's a background to the story that allows the story to be what it is. And I believe that's where we return to when we move past this form. When we die, that's what we return to, is the backdrop of the story that we tell about who we are. So that, you know, when you're no longer in the mountains, there's still the ability to recognize the force that now allows the mountains to be. And, you know, there's a certain space there, if you will, an inner space there, peace and quiet, solitude. What do you think about that? Still with me?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
It's
So you're a lot more tired than you used to be?
yeah, I'm afraid so. I sometimes just want to just sit.
Yeah.
Just sit.
Mm-hmm. Do you feel a certain amount of peace when you just sit?
Yeah, I do. But family don't understand it. They would like me to get active and be busy and accomplish things. And I can't do that.
You're pretty much done with accomplishments, you think, as far as?
Well, for some kind of accomplishments. I did do a lot of things, and I enjoyed doing a lot of things.
You helped a lot of people.
Yeah.
You certainly helped a lot of people in your life.
Yeah.
I'm sure there's some people out there, they're watching the show, or when they see the show later on, they'll say, I remember that guy, he helped me out when I was, you know, struggling with issues.
Thank you for saying that.
Well, I know it's true. I know how when we first met, I was a chimney sweep.
You were?
Yes, I was a chimney sweep when we first met, and I came to clean your chimney. And I remember that I was a little bit embarrassed about being a chimney sweep, because I was actually, I'd left a pretty good career to become a chimney sweep so I could train for the World Championships in Borneo, the World Championships of Adventure Racing. So I had to take a job that was less than what I really wanted, at a lower income, so I could train full-time for the World Championships in the year 2000. And I remember I was feeling embarrassed about it, and I actually tried to express my embarrassment to you that I was a chimney sweep, and you said something very, very profound to me that really affected me. You said, you know, every job is important. That's what you told me. You said, every job is important. It doesn't really matter what it is, but every job is important. And that helped me to accept what I was doing at the time and not judge it anymore. Because I was judging it like I shouldn't really be doing this stuff, and it's really dirty work, and that's like, you know, I needed to do it in order to train, but I was feeling judgmental about it. And you lifted that off my shoulder. I said, well, he's right. It is important. Just like, you know, every job, you know, the person that puts our groceries in the bags at the grocery store, it's a job, but it's a shuck. Some people call it a shitty job, but it's an important job. It's great that somebody's there to do that for us. A cab driver, it doesn't really matter. The person holding the sign for my kids to cross the street every morning, the street, you know, the volunteers, every job's important. That's what you taught me. So you helped me.
Thank you. That's very kind of you to remind me of that.
And I'm sure there are lots of people out there who probably, you know, would say the same thing about you. So, and I'm sure that if you were able to, physically, you would be out there doing what you've always done, which is to help people.
I enjoy that.
Yeah. Yeah. Yep.
And because I've been through a lot of hell, I have a lot to give.
And how long have you been doing this show for?
Oh, what we're doing now?
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's been a long time.
15 years.
15 years. Oh, that's a long time.
I'm guessing.
Yeah. Have you, you certainly have probably counseled people that are, we're talking about limiting situations and stuff. I'm sure you must have spent quite a bit of time counseling people in your in your situation now. That people that were faced with limiting situations.
Mm-hmm.
And do you remember what you would say to them, or what would you tell somebody who was confronted with limits of an extreme nature, physically or mentally? Or do you remember what you used to like? What would you say? What do you say to somebody who's confronting challenges?
You're asking good questions. I discover I'm
It's okay, take your time.
more and more sleepy.
Yeah, it's okay.
I guess I would say that we need each other, no matter how skillful we are or experienced we are. We need each other. And if we try to act as though we don't need each other, we're in trouble.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And none of us can say that we have arrived. We're independent. We're not in that kind of situation. It would be nice if we were, but
Yeah. Yeah.
I'm finding myself running out of energy just trying to talk with you right now.
Okay. All right. Okay.
I'm embarrassed.
It's okay to be embarrassed. No problem at all.
You make it sound so acceptable.
All feelings are acceptable. That's something I learned. It doesn't mean that when you feel angry, it's okay to start throwing chairs around the room. Or that you strike out against somebody when you feel certain things, but you feel things, you take responsibility for them, and you feel them all the way and see where it leads.
Well, I'd like to ask some people to phone in.
Yeah, that's true. We could remind folks that you can call in and ask any questions you want. Any concerns, any struggles you're having in your life, you can call in. And this man's a master at dealing with life's issues. Spent years counseling folks on how to, using the Word of God to help people out, struggles. And let's face it, that's what religions were really designed for. Really, when you get to, I've studied all the major religions, and they're really all based upon the end of suffering, as far as I could tell, at their core truth. They're all designed to help. I mean, what's the point of a religion if it doesn't help you live your daily life, right?
Right.
I mean, it would be worth it. It's not just worthless philosophical ramblings. You know what I mean? It's actually designed to, when you read the words and interpret them the correct way, that you can actually have a better life because of them. I mean, that's what the whole thing is all about, wouldn't you say? I mean, and suffering. Unfortunately, in our culture, let's get back to feelings for a moment. You know, it's even ingrained in our Constitution, the pursuit of happiness. Well, happiness is just one of a huge array of spectrum of feelings, and to go for happiness all the time is really kind of an illusion, because you're not going to have happiness all the time. You're going to have all kinds of feelings, and they're all equal, and you just go with the feelings and not let them control you, and you go for peace instead.
You've come a long way.
Well, I like I like inner peace. It makes life a lot easier to not be swept up in too much thinking, too much analysis. What's the old saying? Analysis paralysis? And one of the things I like about you is that you were always very open-minded about things. I could come in here and talk about Buddha. I could come in here and talk about Sufism. I could talk about Hinduism. I could talk about Christianity, and it would be acceptable for you. That's not always the case. I've heard. I've never encountered that myself personally in my own life, but you know, there's certain rigidity out there about this is what Jesus said, and that's the only way it can really be viewed, and you know.
There are people like that.
Yes, yes, and yeah, I'm not sure it helps much. Although I understand their intentions are good and pure, and I don't. It's not a personal judgment on people who do that. It's.
But I think people
are open or differing views.
I think people are looking for strategic positions, so they know that they have number one, that they have it all together.
Mm-hmm.
And then, but if they don't have it all together, then they're in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
I think no one has it all together. We have to cope with life the way it is.
Mm-hmm.
And that's something we resist. We don't like to cope with life the way it is.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember reading about a Buddhist monk who once said that nobody has a perfect situation. pretty much sums it up. You know, we look at our own, you know, in our own self-centered, I guess, self-conscious way. We look at our lives and we, you know, focus in on what's not going right in our lives, and you know, I think that's true for everybody. I think everybody's always looking at what's wrong and what's you know, I need more, I need this, I need that, and I mean, God is really just beseeched all day long, isn't He, with demands that, you know, please change the outside world so I'll feel a certain way. Isn't that a lot of what prayer's about? Would you say?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
You know, please make them love me so that I can feel okay. I've done it. You know, it's like God's a giant vending machine. Please give me this. Please give me that. You know, after a while, I kind of got sick of it and said, "Wow, I just really can't. I can't ask Him. I know I can. You know, He must be the loneliest person in the universe." You know,
God.
Yeah. I mean, do you, in your own personal relationship with God, do you have like conversations with Him about your intimate conversations with Him, or?
Yes.
Good.
But if you don't do it that way, you're in trouble.
Really? In other words, you're constantly manipulating the outside.
5 minutes.
To try to get.
I wouldn't say manipulating the outside, but you're becoming more and more aware of your limitations, what you're able to do and what you can't do.
Do you ever feel mad about your situation? Do you ever look at say to God, why me, and why is this happening to me? Or do you ever fight with Him a little bit, so to speak?
Oh yeah. Yeah, you can't but help have some of those angry feelings.
Right.
But there's nothing wrong with doing that.
Right. Okay. Yeah.
It's just being honest.
Yeah. And you don't feel like, you know, that, you know, you're going to be cursed by Him because you were totally honest with Him about what you...
No.
But then there's the other side of it where, you know, prayer works. And you know, it's true that whatever you ask for, you kind of get. So be careful what you ask for. Right?
You laugh like.
Well, I just laugh because I've had experiences in my life where I've asked for things, I wanted them very badly, and I got them, and then I said, I don't want this anymore, you know. As my friend, I have a friend who used to say to me, listen, there's two ways to suffer. You can get what you want, or you can not get what you want. When you get what you want, you got to figure out how to keep it. And when you don't get what you want, you got to figure out how to get what you want. So either way, getting what you want or not getting what you want, you suffer. Isn't that crazy? In a way? Mm-hmm. So the Buddhists say, well, don't practice desire and you won't suffer.
But I don't think the Buddhist is trying to avoid suffering.
No, he's not at all. No, I agree with you. In fact, he said that the first law of Buddhism is all life is suffering, right? Life is suffering. Isn't that the first thing he said? He acknowledged that life was suffering. I believe that's what he said when he first. One of the first things he said when he became enlightened under the tree. But yeah,
I'm disappointed that we haven't had any phone calls.
Yeah. Well,
part of the problem I know is that we have our program in the middle of the day.
Right.
And most people are off at work or having fun.
It's lunchtime. It's a beautiful day outside.
Right.
You know? What are you doing watching TV? Hey, get back to get outside. Or call in. You know.
Right.
You know, call in.
Be productive.
Be productive. Everybody's always doing. We're always doing.
Well, Bill said we have only 5 minutes, and so I believe that.
Yeah.
He's the manager here.
Well, before the show ends, I want to thank you for, thanks for having me on. Very much.
My
thanks
pleasure.
Thanks for all you've done in the community and all of that, and you know, you've done a lot. Done a lot for me personally.
Thank you.
And you know, it's been a pleasure and an honor to come on here with you.
Thank you.
This is like I think it might be the 4th time I've been on.
I would think so.
Yeah, and thank you for that. It's been great to support you. Like I say, you've helped me a lot, and it was you know, when I came to clean your chimney, I got a whole lot more than I bargained for. And that's just how life is. You never know what you're going to do. You know, you show up someplace, and you know, it's like when I started running. When I started to be a runner. You know, one foot in front of the other. Next, I didn't know I was going to travel around the world running. You know, had no idea. So there's you never know where life's going to lead you. And,
I think our time is up. So thank you for being here, Shane.
No problem.
For having the courage to look at yourself and your life frankly and honestly. If you want to get more input from me or from you, please contact us, and we'll continue with this conversation. Yeah. Informally, of course. Yeah. Not on television, but
right. How's Sue doing?
She's doing fine.
Good.
She's doing fine.
Good. Good.
So thank you. Be in touch.
Problem. Okay.
Be in touch.